What is that thing anyway?
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars, don't let them end.
Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of our planet's hottest entertainment with an edge from a galaxy far, far away. Jaime En Fuego here, welcoming you for the last time at least for season 1 of this amazing program to Enfuegotainment. That's right, call me Fuego for short. Stoked that you're here because we're talking redemption, we're talking chapter 8, we are talking just rapid fire, non-spoilery impressions of the final episode of season 1 of Mando. That's right, the Mandalorian, the Disney Plus program that I think has kind of stolen some of the thunder from Rise of Skywalker, and rightfully so. It's grittier and, in my opinion, more genuinely compelling storytelling in contrast with some of my gripes that I had from what I felt was a little heavy-handedly disingenuous from Rise of Skywalker. If you want to see my full thoughts on that, I also have a rapid reaction of that, and then this weekend I am putting up a spoilery discussion with my partner in crime over at the horror show Cecil Laird, where we talk all about our positives and negatives of the 9th and final installment in the sagas. But man, what an ending episode. Seriously, the show is at its strongest when it's stuck to our main storytelling, and I really did not like the side mission episodes that we got in the middle of the season. I enjoyed them enough with the exception of the Seventh Samurai episode, but really this show is definitely at its strongest when it's stuck to our Baby Yoda, its protection, what these former imps, as they so amusingly still call them in this episode, these Imperials want with him specifically. And we realized his power, so that has to have something to do with it. Although there is one point in the first episode where they were like, yeah, I mean, the kid can be brought to us dead, it doesn't matter. So, I mean, did they want it for experimentation, all these different things? I mean, who knows, man, but Star Wars is unfortunately not the best, at least in the, television / film essence as far as giving us full explanation. They often want you to buy comic books and novels for all of that, or just consult Wikipedia for those who have really paid just in-depth attention. But so just to give some clarification, have this crazy Imperial looking dude named Gideon, Breaking Bad guy, coming at the very end of our last episode, episode 7, and the kid has been, captured by some of those other troopers, the ones who are on the speeder bikes. I forget what they are distinctively called in, Star Wars lore and stuff, despite all of my fandom. But, yes, I forget what those particular type of troops are. Just like I forget the specific naming of these, black, death suit-looking troops or whatever. We also see another really badass looking stormtrooper who has some red trim and he's working a flamethrower during a battle at this particular point. But yeah, so major amount of troopers along with this Gideon guy who comes down in this TIE fighter, and he has Mando, oh boy, what is her name? Dune, I think is what we finally learned names of a lot of people without actually, and a little bit of background stuff too. And once again, I gotta be careful without spoiling stuff, but we get a name for Mando. We get a little more clarification about Carl Weathers' character and what he used to do before getting into the bounty hunter stuff. We learn the home planet of Gina Carano. That's her name. I was trying to remember it for a second. The former UFC chick or MMA chick. I don't know if she ever did UFC, but yeah. So we get background about all these characters a little bit, which is cool. We also get some ridiculously amusing banter at the very beginning of this between those two troopers that are on the speeder bikes. I know it's two comedians. I think it sounded like Jason Sudeikis as one of them, the SNL dude who's gone on to do all kinds of other stuff. And the other guy, I didn't recognize the voice particularly, but as we saw, I Have Spoken. He bit the dust at the end of our previous episode, and those speeder bike troopers stole our Baby Yoda, and yet they're not going back to town right away because of the fact that they're like, oh, yeah, Breaking Bad dude is just killing troopers who are annoying him and stuff, and I mean, they killed Werner Herzog's character, at the end of the last episode too, and he was like the little puppet, below Gideon. And yeah, so these guys are just like, yeah, we're gonna hang back until things have calmed down and let us know when it's safe to, you know, bring this prize back to you. And they have this back and forth that I hinted at the very beginning in the pre-whatever stuff before I started the music here, and that's the fact that, you know, they're like, what is this child? What is it? And, you know, the one wants to see it, and the other one is just like, no, I only got to look at it really briefly myself. And Taika Waititi, who voices IG-11 in this, and, you know, does a very interesting job of being funny, being heart-wrenching at times with some redemptive stuff that happens later in this episode. But he directed this episode, and I mean, Taika is the shit, man. I mean, he's got a lot of acclaim this year for Jojo Rabbit, but I've been a big fan of his since Eagle vs. Shark and his work with the Flight of the Conchords. And I mean, yes, he's hit it big with Ragnarok, and I mean, he deserves all the acclaim. He really, really, truly does. He's a fantastic director. He's funny. He's insightful, and he directs the action pretty well in this. I don't know if it's quite on par with the 2 Deborah Chow episodes that still might be my favorites of the season, which was 7, the previous one, and then episode 3, where we had all of the bounty hunters fighting all of the Mandalorians when they came up from the underground and stuff. But this is an action-heavy episode, and it's very well handled in my estimation. Those other 2 episodes didn't really have much humor, and this one had heart, it had humor, it had badass action. I mean, the IG-11 we know has been reprogrammed from previous episodes to be a nursing droid now, as opposed to a hunter. And so its main protocol and programming at this particular point is to protect the child at all costs. And when it gets on a speeder after rescuing the child, and this is at the very beginning of the episode, and really all that I want to spoil, and that's not even a spoiler, it happens at the very beginning of the episode. The IG unit, it rescues the child and it goes into town, and the way it goes into town is badass. The way it's taking out, it's like, and the way it spins its body around to protect Baby Yoda as it's shooting, as it's just riding the speeder bike. It's sick, man. It is some of the best action that I saw in this entire season. It's compelling. It's very cool looking. And yeah, the IG joins up with, you know, Dune and Mando and the Carl Weathers character. And yeah, it's basically like an old-fashioned Mexican standoff. It's got that whole Western vibe in that regard, and in just trying to protect themselves and, you know, getting out and shooting. And the gun battle is awesome that transpires. And then they kind of have to flee and they're on the run, and that's about all that I can really say. And yet we get some interesting information about what happened with the Mandalorians that were all underground and revealed themselves after episode 3, like what went down. We do get to re-encounter one important character, which is in my thumbnail, and yeah, it's the weird armory girl who, or lady, woman, to be more specific and stuff, but the one who helped him out with the refashioning of, you know, some of his, you know, just battle armor and stuff like that. And so we do get to meet up with her, and she gives some information about what happened afterwards, and she has a badass scene as some of the stormtroopers start going down chasing Mando and his ragtag gang, you know, below the sewers and stuff, and it's sick, and it shows the badassness of that character. And this is really about, since that's like half-ish into the episode, and there is so much that is revealed, as I'm sure many of you have probably seen and would be curious about me mentioning. I thought about making this a spoiler review because a huge reveal transpires at the end of this episode. Big time. And it ties in with some Clone Wars stuff and Rebels stuff, as a matter of fact, and with some interesting, just like big time Mandalore just history and stuff like that. And, you know, being a Mandalorian, it's not a race, it's like, it's a creed, you know, it's like a clan of sorts. Yeah, we find out a lot more backstory about Mando, and as I also mentioned, we get some about, you know, Gina Carano's character and Carl Weathers' character, a little bit about Weathers and stuff. But this episode was very satisfying. It was a satisfying, like, wrap up a lot of things, you know? And there is a tear-jerking redemptive thing that I mentioned earlier, which is really fantastic in this, and I thought was very compellingly done and hits you in the feels for sure. And so yeah, they wrap up a lot of aspects, but they most definitely, with our last shot, essentially, without spoiling it, this is going to tie in with so much. Like, this is deep dive stuff, especially for like Mandalorian, history and what it ties into. But I can't tell you what it ties into because I'm not trying to spoil the hell out of this. So I have danced around the issues enough. You can tell that I didn't just enjoy this particular episode. I enjoyed the hell out of this season, even if I felt it dragged a little bit in the middle. Nonetheless, Jon Favreau, fantastic job writing all of these, my friend, except for probably my second least favorite episode. He did not write episode 6, the one that had Bill Burr and stuff. That was somebody else who did that. And I know Filoni did the Gunslinger episode, but I mean, those were side missions. Those were just kind of episodes to me. They weren't bad. They weren't bad because I like this character a lot, and there was fun beats and whatever. But Favreau was responsible for the predominance of not the predominance, the entirety of our main threading storyline. And that's why, there was fun times in the X-Files when you had your Monster of the Week, and same with like the first season of Supernatural. But the show really, both of those shows as a matter of fact, and various others, when they get back to the main storyline, like the threading, most compelling thing, that's where they succeed so significantly more so. And this was a very successful season, and man, I can't wait for number 2! No, number 2! Now bring on this particular number 2. So, I have been Jaime En Fuego. Y'all can find moi on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and yes, this past year I've covered pretty much all of my favorite films with reviews of everything from Knives Out to Wild Rose to Good Boys to, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Art of Self-Defense. I'm going to be counting down all of my favorite films from 2019, and of course I'm going to do a corresponding just most disappointing / worst, and then I'm also going to do a most anticipated of 2020. But yeah, if you want to see spectacular stuff, jump over to The Horror Show, youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. And on The Horror Show channel is where you will find my best of, along with Cecil Laird, of the spectacular, so my favorite horror and just thriller-ish, sort of films. The ones that have horrific elements that are, just put at the emphasis point, and, myself and Cecil also do a worst, and then with the rest of the group, our larger extended horror show family, we did a preview of 2020. All of those are going to be coming next week, so look forward to that. And then lastly, every Monday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, #showbusiness. My dude Lindsay, Mimsy, as I call him, from My 2 Cents of Nonsense, along with the Will Escredia showrunner, the main man behind all the proceedings over there, CP. That's right, we talk box office, we talk predictions for the following week, we talked a lot of Star Wars in the last month or so. So, hey, it's just part of the course at this particular point. The end of the sagas, the end of the first season of Mando, there's still so much more awesomeness coming, like the 7th season of Clone Wars and beyond. So, yes, tune into that show. It is live, as I mentioned, every Monday evening. So, until more from a galaxy far, far away, and there's going to be a whole lot more coming. I just started the Tarkin novel because I'd never read that before. It's just old reviews of some other stuff, including the Rebels and Clone Wars shows. And man, Disney Plus has been rad status so far, at least for all of this canon coverage, that I will continue into the new year and new decade. So I've been Fuego, y'all have been awesome, and until the reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, Cinemigos, and constant readers alike. Yes, because you can be both readers and viewers when it comes to Star Wars. There's so much out there, it's insane. But yes, I hope we get to share more of this palaver sooner rather than later, and until that instance transpires, may the Force be with you? Nah, we're changing it. This is the way. Hey, make the little guy do that hand thing again.